All right, live. I'm trying a new setup here, less cluttered background. Well, I still have some light here, some natural light. I want to talk about science today and how science is not a magic word, or at least it should not be treated that way. But people like Governor Walz keep saying that word as though somehow it was magic and it makes everything they do okay. All he has to do is say, the science says, or I'm following the science, and then that makes it like, okay, he can do whatever he wants now. Doesn't matter, he has a carte blanche. But that's of course not how, that is of course not how not the reality of science. Science does not work that way. Science just refers to a practice of making empirical readings, like empiricism, meaning using your senses to assess the physical world, and applying logic and mathematics to those findings to come up with a conclusion about what that natural world is, the nature of that natural world. And that's all it does. It does not, science does not endeavor into looking at the way the world should be. That is a normative judgment. Science is just about factual judgments about the physical world. Now there's a difference between factual judgments and normative judgments. Factual judgments are merely judgments about the way things are, or predictions about the way things will be. Factual judgments do not go into judging the way things should be. Factual judgments are not about whether something is good or bad. It is just about the way they are, or making predictions about how they will be, or estimating how the way things were in the past. That's what factual judgments are, and that's all that science looks into, because there's no way to empirically verify normative judgments as being true or false. You do not look through a microscope, for instance, and then see something and says, oh, the flashing sign says good, this is good, or this is bad. No, there's no such thing. There's no good or bad meter on some piece of scientific equipment. You know, if it goes way over this way, it's good. Oh, then if it's way back this way, then it's bad. Oh, that's not science. Science does not delve into normative judgments. But whenever a policy is made by a governor or other elected official, that is making a normative judgment there. They're delving into the realm of good and bad, good versus bad. They're saying that when they make a normative judgment, or they're going to make a policy, they're making the normative judgment that having that policy is better than not having that policy. That is not a scientific statement. Science does not go into normative judgments. Science does not tell you the goodness or the badness or the betterness of one state of affairs versus another state of affairs. So, we're all standing on equal footing when it comes to assessing normative judgments. Science does not delve into that. So, it is an act of irresponsibility, like a cop-out on the part of the governor when he says, oh, well, I'm just following the science. Or I'm just saying, or it's even worse when he says, oh, the virus is going to have to determine what the policy is going to be going into the future. A virus does not make decisions. It doesn't make any decisions. Normative or non-normative. It just is. And in the make it so that everybody, I think, will at least agree to this. A virus does not determine the constitutionality of a certain policy. And that seems to be one thing that seems to be the governor and Attorney General Keith Ellison are avoiding. They're avoiding the whole constitutionality of the restrictive measures put in place by the governor's emergency order. Now, we can go into the whole. On the one hand, the normative we could go on the one hand of the normative judgments about the value of the policies, whether they're good or bad, or we can also go on the other hand. We can assess the factual judgments about the nature of the virus and the causal chain of events that lead to infections and transmissions. So those are factual judgments. Yeah, those are all sorts of things. Yeah, of course, have discussions about them. But the one thing, regardless of what those two are, those judgments, the factual judgments and the normative judgments, there's one thing that still is still hanging in the air. The assessment of the constitutionality of the executive orders put in place by the governor. And Walz and Ellison seem to be avoiding, or should I say evading, the topic of constitutionality. And the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to due process of law before anyone's liberties are taken away, or property. The state cannot. The 14th Amendment guarantees that the state cannot take away your property or your liberty without due process of law. It does not say anything about executive order. It says law specifically. Now Ellison keeps saying an executive order or emergency order have the force of law, but that's not the same as the law. It's not the same as an executive order is not the same as a law, I should say. And the Constitution, U.S. Constitution, does not say anything about an executive order. It's the 14th Amendment specifically says due process of law. And why aren't Walz and Ellison discussing that matter of constitutionality? And earlier on in, like back in May, I believe it was, Walz stated that he had no plans at the time to issue a mandate on masks. And one of the reasons he gave, he was not certain about the constitutionality. Of course, since then, all sorts of mandates and restrictions have been put in place. But I've listened to many of his Walz and Ellison speeches and tweets, and what seems to be absent is the matter of constitutionality. What happened there? Is it also? I know the Constitution has not been suspended of the United States. So what's going on here? But I think that oftentimes we can look at what people are avoiding to maybe can see where their weak point is in their argument in any like debate. Maybe you can find out where their Achilles heel is by seeing what they're trying to by looking at what they're evading. It's like going back to The Art of War. I think there's one of the quotes was if you're outmatched by your enemy, evade them. And so they're wondering now, are they evading this issue of constitutionality because they know they're outmatched by that? They cannot withstand a constitutional challenge to these executive orders. So I tend to think that maybe we should be pushing this more often than we have been for us that are fighting against the COVID tyranny. So that's why I think we should keep on bringing up the issue of constitutionality, specifically in regards to the 14th Amendment, Section 1. You'll see in there the requirement of due process of law. And now when I think about that, it also pops into my mind another issue that here in Minnesota that Walz seems to be avoiding, and that's the closure of the Bethesda Hospital, which was I think it's already been completed. Bethesda has been closed as what was the state's only COVID-19 dedicated hospital. It's now being converted into a homeless shelter to be run by Ramsey County, I believe. But I keep on hearing this, there's such a nightmare scenario we're looking at. So things are so dire. The humanity. But then I look at, wait a second. This is this Bethesda closing. That was started planning as December. Now, like December 26th. The closing of the Bethesda was planned months ago. And there's no mention of it from Walz or other officials. But they're always constantly talking about, this is so bad. We got to we're looking at a nightmare scenario. We better, so that's Walz has been using that as justification for all these closures and everything. But wondering, if things are so bad, why is Bethesda closing? It doesn't add up. It seems like that's a tell. The fact that it is closing seems to be a tell that things really aren't that bad. And the reason the Walz is not talking about the closure of Bethesda Hospital is because he knows he's got the inside scoop. He knows things are not that bad. All this hysteria, all this COVID hysteria, is all about bringing about the Great Reset. That's a whole other matter. But if you just look at who's benefited from all the lockdown shutdowns. It's been all the corporations, the billionaires, the big box retailers. So let's don't be naive here. Let's see what's going. Wake up and smell the coffee. See what's going on. I think that we need to unite as populists. The left and the right, the populists of the world unite against the tyranny by the elite who trying to bring about this fourth industrial revolution involving surveillance capitalism, these giant online techs that are profiting off of us and trying to divide humanity and separate everybody with this forced social distancing, which is indistinguishable from forced social isolation. They're trying to destroy humanity, and I'm trying to keep humanity together. That's why I'm making these videos. I'm trying to stop the destruction of humanity itself by those elites that are involved in this great reset effort, trying to bring about the fourth industrial revolution, of where robots essentially be like a robot revolution. Essentially, is what it is, and you can kind of think of it similar to. You can look at science fiction movies such as The Matrix and the Star Trek series with the Borg collective. They're trying to get everybody dissolved into this Borg collective of surveillance capitalism involving big giant tech billionaires profiting off of actually acting as essentially parasites of all the citizens that are logging on and inadvertently or not, or helping to enrich these all these tech billionaires and other corporate billionaires, by everybody just being connected into this the Borg internet, in their online giants. So yeah, I mean, that's just that's some ideas and thoughts I wanted to share. I guess that's enough for now. But just to reiterate, a virus cannot determine the constitutionality of a policy. That's one thing for sure. One thing definite. I think everybody can agree on that. And so, the governor can't say, "Oh, the virus will determine the constitutionality of my my restrictions, or when they can." No, a virus does not determine the constitutionality of any measures, and so that is something fallible humans are going to have to decide. But the fact that Walz and Ellison are avoiding talking about the Constitution makes me suspect they know they're vulnerable on that point, and so we need to keep pressing that. Keep pressing the issue of the U.S. Constitution and the unconstitutionality of the Walz's executive orders. So I guess that's enough for now. I just want to get one video out there. I haven't had a video out in a little while. Even though I'm often thinking about this topic. If you're watching, thanks for watching.